What is up, Oxfit? Happy Friday. You can see the title already of what I'm going to be talking about, and it's, are you ready? And how being ready will actually never be a real thing. And right now, it's like my heart is racing. I mean, I do these all the time, but I think it's because to prove my point today, when I was thinking about, okay, Caitlin, what are you going to talk about this week? And I kind of wanted to jump on the bandwagon of what I was talking about last week about moving towards your goals, and it kind of caught me on being ready. And I say that as someone who in the past I definitely struggled with being ready, but it wasn't in the way that you think. So what it comes down to, I'm going to put this up really quick. Thank you. Thank you so much. Feeling good. I am feeling tan. Just got back from being the biggest cheerleader at Ox on the Beach while I watched a bunch of moms crush an Oxfit triathlon. Not an Oxfit, but Oxfit crushing a try. It was amazing. But when it comes to, like, I think about this podcast, I'm on live right now, and certain people can attest to this, like Aunt Savannah, Lauren, how we would before film our podcasts in studio. And I would spend a whole week getting ready just for that one podcast. I had to have my lashes on. I needed to make sure my skin looked good. I needed to wash my hair. Like, I kept thinking that I needed to be so ready just to do something that used to be so hard. I wish I had a video that I could go back and play, have the bloopers about how I would sit there and Ant would film me over and over and over again. And I would be going, and then I'd be like, shit, no, wait, no. And he would throw up his hands, and we'd have to re-record. And so now it's really hit me that it's kind of come to that point where I'm like, damn, I'm ready. And you know that old saying where it's like, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, but there's just more to it. It's not that simple, because you have some people who want to think of being ready as a feeling. When, yes, there are feelings involved in being ready. You're thinking like, okay, I feel confident. I feel scared. I'm unsure. Those are all feelings. But in the totality of being ready, it's so much bigger in the grand scheme of things. So when it comes to being ready, we're going to talk about a few points and how we get to that state of being ready. I have a lot of people that walk into this gym, and one of the main things they always say is, well, I'll come back when I'm ready. And it's kind of like, what does that look like? Why do you think you need to get ready to come to a space where we will get you ready? Okay, sure. You're thinking about, I need to be ready for this job interview. Okay, you're studying. Yes, you want to be prepared. So when you're trying to get ready for something, sometimes it'll become a form of procrastination, only because, bringing in one of my biggest flaws, perfectionism. And, you would think that, yeah, I used to struggle with that so bad. And I'm sure we all struggle with trying to be perfect, because we want something to be perfect so bad. Because what are we scared of? Failure, judgment, consequences, like loss of money, missed opportunities. However, failure really is important for growth. It builds resilience. It refines our strategies. It fosters self-awareness, which encourages a growth mindset, right? So if I'm constantly in this state of, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm standing on the edge, like when I went to Mexico this past summer, I wanted to jump into a cenote. And it's just a clear body of water. And I stood there looking over the edge. I even ran up once and said, oh, and ran back. I was so scared. And then you just have to do it. As much as being ready isn't a feeling, it contains feelings. Being ready, we just have to do it. Because when we focus excessively on preparing or waiting until something feels completely right, or we're completely prepared to do it, we do delay taking action. And we delay, why? Because we're scared of making mistakes. But what do mistakes do? Mistakes show us how, okay, you know what, maybe that wasn't the right way to do it. I'm going to reassess and try again. But sometimes it happens again and again and again. But once it comes to the end of that cycle of you keep making a mistake, you keep making a mistake, oh, you failed this time. But by the time you reach the very end and you just think right before you're about to give up, you're like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. You figured it out. And it's like all of a sudden you're just like, bam, it's done. No mistakes. You didn't fail this time. But it takes time to get there. And all you're doing by waiting to be ready is you're stuck in this vicious cycle, this mindset where you desire to be perfectly ready. And then it's just going to prevent you from starting at all. So, like I just said, being ready, in reality, being ready comes through experience and action, learning as you go. And that's a true testament to coming into the gym. Same thing with your nutrition. It's like you'll never fully be ready because you're going to come in, you're going to learn new movements. It's all, for some people, it's brand new. Some people, it's their very, they used to do it back when they were athletes. Now they're trying again. Their body's different. Now women are pregnant. They just had babies. So you're just like, how do I get ready? How do I get to that point? But what it comes down to is embracing your imperfections and taking small steps that then this can break that cycle. Because once you break that cycle, growth can happen naturally, right? You're allowing progress to naturally happen. So say that your biggest fear is failure. Okay, what are some reasons? Like I said, what are some reasons that we're scared to fail? Number one, perfectionism is the biggest one. Perfectionism keeps us from achieving the things that we want to achieve, because if it's not exactly the way we want it to be, then guess what? We can't do it. And if, damn it, I don't struggle with that all the time. Even getting ready for this competition I have right now, I've switched to this mindset of not being ready, because when I get there, oh no, 1 second. I'm back. Okay, we're here. All right, we're good to go. Looking cute. All right. So coming up, like I said, with this competition that I have, if I go into this competition being scared to fail and thinking I'm not ready, it showed the last time I went to this competition. Even Ant said, he was like, where is your head? Where are you? Why are you not here? I was too busy being so scared of not having the movements down packed and what I thought that they should be, that I was personally missing out on all the fun that everybody was having and just enjoying the competition. Because it's like he said, it's going to be what it's going to be. And now this time we're getting ready, and my sole focus is just going to the beach with my team. We're taking such a huge squad. It's going to be so much fun, and getting to watch others compete for the first time. That's what I'm ready for. I'm going to do the best that I can do, and that's all I can ask for, right? So even if the day comes 2 Saturdays from now, I only have 85% to give, but I give all 85%. I've given 100%. And I know I've said that before in this podcast. But the only way that I'm able to continue on, even doing this live podcast right now, I still at times I hit the live button and I'm just like, oh, here we go. Okay. Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Boo. Thank you. Got me feeling good about myself right now. These 2 comments that I have so far. But it just resonates with me. And I hope that other people can relate to this as well. When you think about all the goals that you have set, the business that you want to run, the fitness competition that you want to do. It could even be something as simple as waking up in the morning, trying out a new schedule. And you just keep feeling like I'm not ready. I can't wake up in the morning. I can't do this. I can't do that. Once again, we continue to lead from a place of weakness instead of strength. And so perfectionism, of course, is a big weakness of mine. And so if I try to lead from that space, then I'm not going to be making any of the progress that I want to be making. Which brings me to another point of why I have been scared to fail, and I'm sure you are as well, is, just the loss of self-esteem. When you really want something and you're trying so hard and you're coming to the gym every day, you're eating well, you're going to bed on time, and it's just like nothing seems to work out the way you want it to, and you're not feeling the way that you want to feel, you're not looking the way you want to look, and it's just hit after hit after hit on your self-esteem. And then, of course, it's like, all right, you move past the perfectionism part and you're like, I'm just going to do this. And then you're like, well, damn, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. So then we have that learned behavior of, well, I failed that last time. I just can't do it again. It's going to make me feel so terrible about myself. I'm not going to feel good. And that's hard to move past. I get it. It's so relatable on so many levels that if I feel like shit, I sure as hell am not going to do something else. I'm just not. I'm going to be stuck, which is then moving into the next part is my fear of judgment. When I would do the pre-recorded podcasts, I would be like, oh God, I have a pimple here. I've got a pimple right here. Wait, let me put my extra freckles on. Let me make sure my lashes are looking good, because if I did mess up in the podcast, I'd be like, oh my God, what do I look like? Do I look bad on camera? Am I sounding bad? Do I even know what to say? And you think back on it, and now I'm just like, that's so silly. But at the same time, the fear of judgment of others will 1000% keep you from actually getting to that, even that small goal that you have. Last week we talked about a big goal and setting smaller goals along the way to make sure that we celebrate ourselves and that we take small steps to get to that big goal. But if we're having that fear of judgment, that loss of self-esteem, we're trying with our perfectionism along the way, that bigger goal gets further and further and further away. And so now you're worried about, because of social media, TikTok, Instagram, people on your Facebook that you don't even speak to anymore. You wanted to start this business, but you don't want to put it out there because you're so worried about what people are going to say to you. Let me tell you something right now. I have never heard anything negative from people who are doing the same thing as me, from people who are on the same journey as me. The only people you hear stuff from are people who wish they could be in your position, people who could never fathom or imagine being where you're at right now or doing what you are, or people who doubt themselves so much they're going to put that doubt onto you, and they're going to make sure you know to reel you back in because they can't stand to see you doing better than them. Right? So you've got all this fear of judgment. Now you've lost your self-esteem. Your perfectionism, you're struggling so bad, you have anxiety, you don't know how you're going to do it. And then to add on to top of that is the fear of consequences. Now I'm going to talk real quick, of course, about the Oxleys, Ant and Lauren. We're coming up right now on our 10-year anniversary. 10 years. 2015, started in the park, then started Grant Park Gym. And then what's even crazier is they started to open East Atlanta right before the pandemic happened. And what happened? Here comes the pandemic. During that time as well, Ant had Oxwork next door. And so you have Oxfit Grant Park, Oxfit EAV, Oxwork co-working space. And it's like, damn, he's even told me about a time that he tried something else previous this and lost like $10,000. But he never gave up, never worried about what anybody else thought, didn't worry about the fear of consequences. But that's hard. And it's not just for anybody, right? Because I know for me personally, it has been such a journey to go from the moment that I came and worked out in this gym, met with Ant at the bar that I used to work at, to go from, just being a bartender is such a different life, to then changing that life to getting up early, not staying up late, actually working out, somehow Ant trusting me to coach classes and run the gym. He had more faith in me than, of course, than I had in myself. And so that's why, fast forward now 10 years, we're still here. We're still here. We could have closed down in 2020, but we stayed online with classes, hoping people that stayed with us, and we stuck through it. And then we came out on the other side of the pandemic and people came flooding back to the gym. But I mean, I can't tell you how many businesses, I'm sure you saw that they closed during the pandemic. But I can say one thing about the Oxleys: they are not scared to fail. And that's something that they've rubbed off on me, our team, this gym. That's something we like to tell with our athletes. Find your strength is our biggest motto. I wish I had that little board here so I could hold it up and look cute where it says find your strength, because once again, we're leading from a place of strength and not weakness. So when it comes to being ready, how do we get ready? Okay, cool. Let's talk about the steps. So we're moving past the being scared to fail. We're moving past perfectionism. We're not worrying about what other people think about us, which is probably, I think, the hardest thing. But now we're ready for growth. We're ready for a challenge. We're ready to be uncomfortable, and we're ready to make a move. So how do we get ready? Well, first step, focus on action, not just preparation. So don't sit there all day making a list of all the things that you need to do, just like when you walk in through this door. You walked in through this door for a reason. Now it's time to take action. Now it's time to come to class. And like I said, people leave and say, well, I'll be back when I'm ready. No. We'll get you ready. Everything we do is modifiable, easily approachable. All right. It's for everyone of every level. You see our workouts. If you come to class, they have levels. You can be in between a level. You could be 2 levels mixed. It doesn't matter where you are. Now is the time to take action. Because if you keep preparing yourself to be ready, you're just adding on to that perfectionism. Stop acting like you have to have all these things in order to take that next step. So focus on action, not preparation. Number 2, challenge your inner critic. All right? Because I can tell you now, if all day, every day, you're saying, I can't, I hear that all the time. You come into the gym, you tell me you want to do something. I'm like, great, let's do it. We're like, I can't right now. I don't have the time. I can't do this. I can't do that. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to change your mind. If you think that you can't, then guess what? You can't. If you think that you can, you can. Even right now, I'm on a mission to walk more than 5 feet on my hands. I have 2 weeks to hopefully go 75 feet. And if I'm just sitting here being like, oh my God, I can't do it. Well, guess what? I'm not going to be able to do it. That's just fact. Because if you're constantly telling yourself something, well, then guess what? You're going to believe it. There's power in the tongue, power in the mind, your thoughts. They create your reality. So if you can change that inner critic and give yourself grace, be kind to yourself, replace those negative thoughts with positive thoughts. I'm telling you, the change and the increase of the things that you want to do, insane. So focus on action. We're challenging our inner critic. Now we're setting a deadline. Because a lot of times that little bit of a rush, you're like, oh my God, I only have 2 weeks for this competition. Now it's go time. We got to go. I've got to do this. It's that sense of urgency that creates commitment. Because if you're like, just again, think about it this way. A new year is coming up. It's another new year, 2026. And guess what? You still did not achieve your goal. You still didn't take yourself to the gym. All right. You still didn't ask that person to marry you. You still didn't buy whatever it is that you wanted to start your business. It's just, once again, there's no urgency to what you have to do. But now with this little bit of urgency, and if you think about it, think about high school, think about a test. You have a test the next day. What are you doing? Oh, you're just flipping through that book. You're writing out notes. You're getting ready. It's like, damn, it's like there's a fire under your ass. Well, now you set a deadline. Let's spark that spark and get that fire going. Right. And so to help us with that, sense of urgency and that commitment, we're going to think about past successes. So sometimes what happens is when we try and take on something new, we seem to forget that we've taken on things like that our whole life. Right. I think about my driver's test. Sure, you rode around with your parents for a little bit when you were 14, 15, you had your learner's permit, but you're in that car by yourself with someone you don't even know. But guess what? You did it. Let's see. I had someone recently come back. They hiked Mount Rainier. Were they scared? Yes. Did they kind of wait a little too long to start training? Yes. But guess what? They did it. And so now in the future, when they come up to another big mountain, guess what? They climbed that mountain already. They're going. They're thinking about that past success. Guess what? I can do it. And you have to remember that as well, that it's not just about you in that singular moment. What about you in all those past victories? What about you in those times that were really tough? Because that is what failure does. Failure and making mistakes makes us resilient. It helps us to push forward. It helps us to move towards those goals. It helps us to be ready. Right? So what's next now? You've reflected on your past successes. You're taking some action. How do you keep going? Accountability and support. So just like when you join the gym, and I've talked about our coaching program before, you've tried to get ready before. You keep saying you're ready. Okay, well, you know that you need to take this step. You join the gym. Now you've moved into the coaching program. You need it. Why? Because you need someone to hold you accountable. You need someone to hold you accountable for your nutrition, for your fitness, how many times you're coming to the gym, what you're eating outside of the gym. You need someone to check on you. Because that really does matter in the grand scheme of things, of if you thinking that you can do it by yourself. Hey, some people can't. All right. I've talked about the people that can go to the gym, put their headphones in, work out by themselves. More power to you. But me personally, I like to achieve my goals together. All right. You don't have to do it alone. And having that accountability, I've preached on this. Honestly, I think every single podcast that I've been on live is that having that team, being surrounded by like-minded and driven teammates and athletes in the gym, that's going to help me be accountable to what it is that I'm working towards. So how do we keep ourselves from falling back into that mindset of thinking that I'll never be ready, or if I just follow these 5 steps, then finally I'm going to be ready? You just have to take the plunge. You've got to make that jump. I know sometimes people can be very like one toe in at first, and then they put their whole foot in, and then the other toe kind of steps in. And then, okay, maybe they've got their feet slightly in the water. They're kind of on an incline walking in. You've got to sometimes just be one of those both feet in kind of people. You go all in. But of course, that takes a lot of strength and that takes a lot of resilience. But have you actually experienced loss through making mistakes, through failing all the things that you did in the past to get to that point where you're like, fuck it, I'm jumping in. I'm going to go for it. I'm diving in. There's a song that I really love, and it's actually called Dive. And he says, I'm diving in. I'm going deep. In over my head, I want to be lost in the flood. And it's just like, damn, I want to be that person. I want to be so ready that anything that I do, I know I can do. But that's the thing, though. I am never going to be ready. And I keep telling myself, you're like, I want to be ready. I want to be ready. Just like I was saying, but you're not going to be ready. All I have now is my experiences, my lessons learned, my strength, my resilience, holding on to all the things that I know I can do, that when I look at something new, I'm like, all right, I might not know a lot about it, but I'm going to do it. And that comes from everything that I've been through. Now, remember, just because you failed the first few times doesn't mean that you're going to fail again. Remember, just because you failed the first few times doesn't mean that you're going to fail again. But if you hold on to the fact that you failed before, till it prevents you from trying again, well, then guess what? You will never know. It'll be filled with nothing but what ifs. What if I had done this? What if I had done that differently? But guess what? You gave up. You chose to give up rather than to press on and continue to make mistakes. All right? Rome wasn't built in a day. It just wasn't. And I would like to think sometimes it is because, I have my conspiracies about, I'm getting off track now. I'm not going to talk about that. But Rome wasn't built in a day. That body that you have right now that you spent the last 20 years creating isn't going to change in a couple weeks or a couple months. But the way that you know it will never change is because you're not doing anything about it. And it's just like I talked about in the last podcast. You have to be able to stick with something in order to see those results. But since you can't take small actionable steps, or you haven't broken down your goal into smaller pieces so you can reach this big goal, well, you're just never going to get here. You go from one spot, you hop over to the next lily pad. Okay, you get here, you're halfway there, but then something happens and it sends you all the way back. Well, now you're going to be scared. Now you're going to be unsure. And so that goal just keeps looming over your head. And then it's 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. Now it's a decade. You're 50 pounds heavier when the thing you initially wanted to do was go to the gym and just lose 20 pounds. Well, now you have 50 pounds to lose. Why? Because you were so scared to fail and you thought that you had to get ready, that you never took that step in through the door to get to the gym. So sadly, that's nothing but a what if. What if you had done it 5 years ago? Would you now be 50 pounds overweight? I don't think so. What if I had taken that job opportunity? Where would your life be right now? You can't base everything off of your past failures and being ready. Because like I said, you will never be ready. We have people who come in here all the time, and this is just the first step. And I'm proud of them for making that first step. For those of you watching, I'm proud of you for taking the first step for coming into OxFit. And then you take that next step, coming to class 3 to 4 times a week. And then you take the next step. You move into working on your nutrition. You become a coaching client. Now you're doing a triathlon. Now you're doing a marathon, and you're doing things that you never thought in a million years that you would do. But that's because you're surrounded and being held accountable by people who are on the same journey as you. And you don't worry about being ready. Why? Because you have all these other people who show you that you never have to be ready. You just have to show up. Don't worry about being ready. Just show up. All right, so let's go over our actionable steps one more time on how we can be, quote unquote, ready to take that next step. So number 1, we're going to focus on action. We're going to take action. We're going to stop worrying about being prepared, because I'm telling you, in the long run, it doesn't really matter. You're just as prepared as you're going to be. You have to jump both feet in, take that chance, and go for it. Just do it. Nike, check mark, TM, right there. Just do it right on the shirt. Number 2, you have to change your way of thinking. You need to challenge your inner critic. Because if you're constantly telling yourself that you can't, well, guess what? Like I said, you can't. All right. If you keep telling yourself, I can, I know I can, I know I can walk on my hands, I know I can get a bar muscle up, I know I can get my first pull up, I know I can run a mile. Well, baby, I know you're going to get that mile. You're going to get that muscle up. I'm over here walking on my hands. I never thought I was going to be able to do that. And then number 3, we've set a deadline. All right. You've actually given yourself a date that you know that this is the day. There's no changing it. You've told yourself this is when it's going to happen. If it's a business proposal, if it's coming to the gym, you're trying to wake up early, you're starting a new schedule, you want to ask this person on a date. It could be something so small, but you're not doing it because you're worried about failing. Set that deadline. Take that action. Change your frame, change your mindset, and watch what happens. Because now you do take those steps and you do this. Okay, you have success. Now this next time you do it brings me to my next point. We're going to think about past successes. We're going to think about all the times that we won. Because all we tend to focus on is when we lose. Oh, I didn't do this. Man, I didn't get this. I didn't get this project. I didn't get this bid. This person said no to me. I didn't make the money. I didn't do all this stuff. You know what? If you want to be one of those victim people that just dwell on everything that could go wrong for you and what's always going wrong for you, instead of being one of those people that you're like, hell yeah, I did it this one time, or I've done this before. It was really hard. I know that I can do it. Because then it makes it easier to then seek support and accountability. Because now I'm in a space where I'm with the 5 people that sum up who I am as a person, because they're the same people working towards goals. They're the same people who are, like I said, like-minded. They're positive. There's no negative energy. They're not bringing me down. They're holding me accountable. They're like, whoa, Caitlin, you said you wanted to do this, but instead you're acting this way. How is that going to get you towards your goal? You've got to have those people in your life. Look, 5 steps, only 5 steps to get you ready to what you want to do. But I'm telling you right now, and I speak from experience, and I'm sure if you ask any other successful businessman, businesswoman, you know, just anyone you know who's in a position that you want to be in, the biggest thing they're going to say is you just have to do it. And it may not go as to plan because you've set all this plan. You're trying to be perfect. These are the steps that you need to take. You're not going to get there that way. Sometimes you're throwing it out to left field and you're out in the right field. But guess what? It ends up working out anyway because you took a chance. Look, if you've been missing out or waiting out to do something, it could be something as simple as coming to the gym. It could be, like I said, going to bed before 10 p.m. But you're like, oh, I'm not ready yet. I got so much to do. I've got this. I have to be, I got to be prepared. I need to take all these steps. I need X, Y, Z. I'm telling you, stop talking yourself out of doing the things that you want to do just because you think you're not ready. You'll never be ready. I'm telling you, take these 5 steps, implement them even on something small. Starts on something small and then bring it into something bigger. Rework that framework. But I'm telling you, those 5 steps are going to get you exactly where you need to be. And if you walk in through this gym and you know that you need all of those things off this list that I just gave you, then the best way to do it is to get you a coach, me, Aunt, Savannah, Lauren. Get you a coach, because not only will we help you with all 5 steps, we'll make sure that you get there as effortlessly as possible. Can't believe I spoke for 34 minutes on something that honestly, I wasn't even prepared to talk about. I just felt led to talk about being ready. And I was like, damn it, this is what I'm doing. This is how I've experienced it in the past. This is how I get myself ready. But really, I'm kind of just a psychopath and I just do the things that I want to do. I just got to do it. Just got to throw yourself to it. Just like right now on my handstands, I just got to throw these feet over my head and just keep moving. Look, just keep going, you guys. I'll be here next Friday, to talk about something else to help you get 1% better every single day. 1% better every single day. That's 365% throughout the year. Let's get better. We're not waiting for our New Year's resolutions. We're not waiting for 2026. We're not walking into 2026 10 pounds heavier. We're getting strong, fit, and lean right now. We're crushing our goals. We're doing marathons, triathlons, fitness competitions. We're just doing it for us. Because at the end of the day, it's only you. Nobody else is thinking about you, even though you might think that they're not. So do what you need to do, what is best for you to help your dreams and your goals come true. Till next